And good morning, everyone. I'm Valerie Calhoun. It's Monday, October 7th. Made it to the happy hour, the 9 a.m. hour.
Yes, we have. Actually, 8:59 atomic time, so happy hour coming up in less than a minute.
Like that.
But in the news this morning, the partial government shutdown has not ended, but more than 300,000 federal workers will be going back to work. So how did they decide who was coming back? We'll explain it for you. Good morning, Scott.
Hey, good morning. Ernie live downtown. It's 2nd and Beale directly behind me. You know the club, BB Kings. Well, it caught fire overnight while you were likely sleeping. Coming up in a live report, I'll tell you just how bad the damage is. Good morning, Val.
And a Fox 13 I-Team investigation finds just how many times officers have been called to Shelby County schools. I'll give you a hint. It's in the hundreds. Good morning, Trey.
Morning. So if you're hoping for a government shutdown compromise this week, things don't look so good. We'll have the latest. Good morning, Joey.
Hey, Trey, good morning. It is a gorgeous Monday outside. That is the positive news. Let's take you right out there to that view from downtown Memphis. Skyfox beaming it in high definition straight into your home. And, folks, you got to go outside and enjoy part of today very soon. Fantastic weather. Here's True View, clean sweep right now across the tri-state area. All the clouds have been pushed away. They've got a tornado watch up in the northeast coming out of sections of New York, Pennsylvania, and beyond. Meanwhile, we're on the pleasant side with dry conditions, looking at a little ground clutter coming off the radar, but there is no moisture there. Temperatures now in the mid-50s, right around 54 in the downtown area. And here's a quick glance at your day planner if you're trying to map out what to wear for yourself or that loved one. 56 at 9 a.m. That's about where we are now. 67 by noon, and then around 71 to 72 for a very cool Monday daytime high. All right, we're going to talk about the rest of that work week in just a few more minutes. Right now, let's get you back into the news.
All right, well, first on Vice, the government shutdown continues. No sign of a compromise. And that clock is ticking, too, towards a possible government default.
Yeah, which would be catastrophic as we enter day 7 of the federal impasse. Fox 13's Trey Paul joining us live in our studio with the latest updates on the battle there in Washington. Good morning, Trey.
Good morning. Yeah, it doesn't look so good, Ernie and Val. House Speaker John Boehner said yesterday all the president had to do was pick up the phone and start negotiating. Well, when asked how the current standoff might end, the speaker said, quote, "If I knew, I'd tell you." He blames President Obama for the current impasse, claiming the president refuses to negotiate.
So are you saying that if he continues to refuse to negotiate, the country is going to default?
It's the path we're on.
Okay, New York Senator Chuck Schumer compared the shutdown to a hostage situation, using the Democrats' stance on immigration. Take a listen.
It's sort of like this. Someone goes into your house, takes your wife and children hostage, and then says, let's negotiate over the price of your house. You know, we could do the same thing on immigration. We believe strongly in immigration reform. We could say we're shutting down the government. We're not going to raise the debt ceiling until you pass immigration reform. It would be governmental chaos.
As you can see, nothing is really happening. The president and his allies claim Republicans are making unreasonable demands. White House insiders say the president is perfectly willing to negotiate, but not until the government shutdown is over. Live in the studio, Trey Paul. Good morning, Memphis.
New this morning, despite that shutdown keeping hundreds of thousands of workers at home, the Supreme Court is returning to work this morning. The justices are considered essential workers and have some pretty big cases to take on this term. On the docket, abortion, religion, and civil rights. In fact, one of the most anticipated issues is campaign financing and rules for that. Beginning this week, the highest court in the land will hear arguments challenging the current law that limits contributions to candidates and political parties. And about 350,000 Pentagon employees also returning to work this morning. This after Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel called workers back to work. In fact, he said the decision to recall the workers is based on a Pentagon interpretation of a law called the Pay Our Military Act. It was a measure passed by Congress and signed by President Obama shortly before the shutdown began.
And here in Tennessee, businesses relying on tourist spending at the Great Smoky Mountains, for example, feeling the loss of customers. Those national parks there are still closed.
The amount of money that we make in October is really what keeps us alive through November through March. But the last 3 days, if that's any indication as to what the rest of this month is going to be, we're all kind of a little concerned about it.
A recent government survey on the government shutdown revealing that the closing of national parks costing local communities $70 million. All right, it is 9:04 now. Memphis Police Ambassadors holding their inaugural Community Appreciation Day over the weekend, Saturday. But the celebration came at a time when the police department may not feel so appreciated. MPD's budget cut again this year by 2.5%. The department not sure when it's going to have its next group of police recruit graduates. They're not feeling real appreciated these days, right? Mayor A.C. Wharton addressed the budget at the Appreciation Day event. He says, look, the budget cuts, unfortunate, wishes it didn't have to happen.
Not one police officer caused the recession so that our property values drop. I didn't cause it. The council didn't cause it. These are just tough economic times.
Wharton says the community's thank you during that appreciation event Saturday means a lot more to the police officers than what the city council does. He says the council will listen to citizens, try to help MPD more.
On the wrong side of the law, a deputy jailer in charge of the gang unit is charged with assault. Police say Gerald Holloman hit a man in the back of the head with a bottle during a fight last month. The victim got a concussion from that assault. Holloman is charged with aggravated assault. The Shelby County Sheriff's Office says he was the commander of the jail gang unit, and he's been relieved of duty with pay pending an investigation.
Well, a gunslinger is on the run in Memphis this morning after shooting a man and leaving him for dead. The victim did not die, though. Instead, he walked to a fire station over on Getwell. The shooting happened Sunday evening near Rhodes and Getwell, and after walking into that fire station, EMTs rushed the victim to the hospital. He is listed in critical condition this morning. Police now asking anyone who might have information on this shooting to call Crime Stoppers at 528-CASH.
2 murders in Memphis this weekend, and this morning the killers are still out there somewhere. Both of the shootings happened Friday. Police have identified the man who was shot and killed at a Hickory Hill apartment complex. They have identified him as 28-year-old Desmond Braxton. He was shot at the Aspenwood Townhomes near Mendenhall and Knight Arnold. He died at the Med.
And on to that other killing. Investigators identified 42-year-old John Shelley as the victim in this one. Officers say he was shot and killed Friday while renovating a vacant home off Scottsdale Avenue. Again, police asking anyone with information on any of these killings to call Crime Stoppers at 528-CASH.
And they gave their lives to save others. 53 Memphis firefighters have been honored for their service this weekend. Local firefighters paid tribute to the men and women who died in the line of duty. A procession of fire trucks and firefighters, joined by bagpipers, led the march to the Fire Museum downtown. The names of each fallen firefighters were read as bells were rung. The annual ceremony, we're told, isn't just about remembering those who have died.
We have not forgotten what they did, to resolve that we will strive to be better, to resolve that we will move forward, to resolve that we will not repeat the things of the past, that we would be better as a result of the sacrifices that they made.
In the past, the annual Fallen Firefighters Memorial was held on 9/11, but the fire department decided to set aside a day to focus only on the Mid-South firefighters who gave their lives in the line of duty.
All right, it is 9:08 now, and this morning, some of those brave firefighters were on hand to help put out a fire at a famous Beale Street eatery and hangout. Fox 13's Scott Mattis live from outside the B.B. King restaurant. Scott, what happened here?
Yeah, bizarre story. It all went down at about 12:30 last night. This one, a fire broke out in the kitchen of B.B. King's. Now, the club, bar, restaurant itself was closed at the time. There was only a couple of employees inside of the building when the fire broke out. Nobody was hurt, but Memphis Fire responding almost immediately. As you know, there's a fire station just down the road on South Main Street. But when they got here, it took them probably about 30 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer, to get this fire under control and finally put out, as there was a couple of hot spots, but it spread from the kitchen up through some vents and actually got up to the 3rd floor where Itabina, the restaurant, is. And then it also went to an adjacent structure. That structure is the B.B. King store. Take a listen, though, to what Memphis Fire told Fox 13 News moments after they got this fire put out.
There was a working sprinkler system in the structure. It contained the fire to the area of origin in one of the facilities there.
All right, so that is just one of the things, of course, Memphis Fire doing their thing, getting this fire put down, Valerie and Ernie, but that fire suppression system that they have inside the building worked exactly the way it was supposed to. This should probably be a lesson to anybody who owns a building anywhere around the Memphis metro, or for that matter, anywhere. But I can tell you, if you were with us about an hour ago on Good Morning Memphis, I had the chef of B.B. King's live with me, and I asked him a couple of questions, one of which was any of the really priceless memorabilia inside B.B. King's damaged, and he told us no, everything looks to be just fine right now, but unfortunately B.B. King's will be closed for about a week, maybe a little bit longer. They're going to be using construction crews to redo what was damaged, but they're going to be working on 24-hour shifts. Stay with Fox 13 News and myfoxmemphis.com for the very latest in this still developing story. Live downtown at B.B. King, Scott Mattis, Good Morning Memphis.
All right. The Memphis Tigers return from a bye week with a big challenge at the Liberty Bowl this weekend. Central Florida Knights rolled into town.
Yeah, and Tiger fans like Joey almost celebrated a victory, but the Knights scored 14 points in a span of 9 seconds. Here's a reaction from the head coach and some of the players.
When I got here, there weren't crushing losses. It was getting crushed. And so I don't know. I'm not familiar with kind of what you're talking about. And so I don't think our kids are either.
It's hard to lose a game like this, but all we got to do is move past it. And we got Houston next week, so we need to go focus on that game now. We know we can win now. We just got to go out there and do it and not hurt ourselves, really.
I feel that we right where we need to be. We played them pretty good. I mean, they made good plays at the end. We should have capitalized on the plays that we had. I think our program is where it needs to be.
One thing that I was telling my team is the feeling that we had in the locker room, it was so quiet. I told them we shouldn't have that feeling anymore. We should go to practice next week and following weeks and just practice and play like we did today, and hopefully we come out on top.
So our kids have the frame of reference of we're building something to go get better and join that group.
Crushing loss for the Tigers. They travel to Houston next week. The Cougars laying in wait for them. Remember, the Justin Fuentes show is on every Sunday night after the news right here on Fox 13 at 10 o'clock.
All right. Heartbreak continued over on Rocky Top, too. Did you see the Tennessee-Georgia game?
I did.
Oh, man. I thought we had won that thing, but late in the game, Georgia quarterback Aaron Murray hit for a 2-yard touchdown to tie it at 31 with 5 seconds left in the game. What is this, sports speak here? Here's the deal. In overtime, we were tied up going into OT. And Pig Howard, is that right?
Yeah.
Tries to score from 8 yards out, but fumbles at goal line. It was a heartbreaker. Georgia's kicker hits a 42-yard field goal to win, 34-31. The play of the game, though, was the Tennessee player. We thought we had a touchdown.
Yeah.
And he stretched out across and barely, and the official went like this. We're like, touchdown.
It looked like a touchdown at first.
At first, till they did the replay.
Yeah.
And the ball was just out of his control.
Yeah.
Or so they said.
It was.
Yeah, it was a heartbreaker.
He fumbled away the victory. He snatched
heartbreaker
defeat from the jaws of victory.
He did.
Pig.
And so the Giants now, the New York Football Giants, your team, have they won any games yet?
No games yet.
Wow, how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, well, can't win them all.
Can't win any, apparently.
Wow. So are you an official Giants hater? Or
no, because you've been giving Ed and I such a hard time about the Volunteers. It just feels good. Do you enjoy that, gentlemen? Yes, thank you very much. Yes. All right. One thing we can all agree on,
Go Vols.
how great the weather is. We'll be back with more.
And take the other.
All right, we're loving the fall temps here in the Mid-South, but in Wyoming, it is a major snowstorm. Check this out. They got up to a foot of snow in early October. Casper, Wyoming. If you love the snow, head there. The snowfall knocked down power lines, down trees. Roads were rough even for those folks who are used to it. At one point, they had 13,000 people without power. Casper, Wyoming. Note to self, take my snow boots if I go out there. All right. The minor rains that came through our area over the weekend didn't do a whole lot of damage here, but check out Louisville, Kentucky. Look at the flooding there. Cars were floating. 6 inches of rain fell in a 24-hour period. They had lots of flash floods, had to evacuate 84 people, and hundreds of assists by first responders due to the flooding. Fortunately, though, no major injuries reported. And a sigh of relief in the Gulf. Over the weekend, Tropical Storm Karen was downgraded to a depression. State leaders, though, I guess in Florida, still telling folks to be aware of high winds and heavy rains. Watch that surf, too. Karen expected to push east today and tomorrow. The remnants of Karen moving east. Some folks could see up to 3 inches of rain. So no major damage, no harm, no foul. Let's check in with Joey, though. Joey, lots of bizarre weather across the country. Again, we really dodged a bullet here. In fact, Saturday was supposed to be a washout. It was delightful.
Yeah, you know, there was rain all around us on Saturday. Lots of folks in Shelby County wondering where those raindrops were, but they were happening all the way across the viewing area, just not a lot of it concentrated within Shelby County. So we did dodge that water bullet Saturday, but then most of the rain came through later and gave us this, what you're looking at right now. Clear skies and a beautiful start checking out AutoZone Park. And let's just take you from there to the big map and look at what's happening to the temperatures. All of this because of that cold front that came through Saturday night into Sunday, and now that front very well defined, marching through Pennsylvania. In fact, because it's now moving into the very buoyant, warm East Coast, they have not seen the cooler numbers yet. We've got tornado warnings, or tornado watches rather, and some warnings possible up here in the Northeast happening right now. Right here at home, we're seeing those mild conditions just spill over and clear skies as a result of the front cleaning out the atmosphere. That's great news for us. 55 to 56, your average number out there under blue skies and no problems up above. Here's where we are on the cool side of the cold front. Great place to be. By tomorrow, that's just going to continue moving on to the east, and we're going to see everything continue to stabilize even more, solidify, and so that's going to make some great weather as we move ahead. In fact, your tomorrow map, you don't see anything there because we're just dominated by high pressure. No fronts in the vicinity at all. We're looking really good. So for today, a little bit on the cool side. 67 is your expected temperature by lunchtime. And then early afternoon, we're around 71, topping out around 72. So just the low 70s for that daytime high here on Monday. And we've got dry air all the way around us tonight. Nice and clear and cool out there. 51 under stars above. Northeast winds around 5 to 10 miles an hour. Now on Tuesday, we're already letting you know early, folks. It's going to be a golden bow tie day. Make those plans to enjoy almost ideal conditions outside. Perfect in those mid to upper 70s. Doesn't just stop there. We also have a contender for that golden bow tie weather award on Wednesday. Thursday's a little bit too warm. On Wednesday, we're around 78 degrees. Gorgeous weather all the way around all week long, folks. Roll down the windows, air out the house, get all the dust mites out. And then this weekend, temperatures in the low 80s and about a 20% chance of showers. All right, that's what's happening with your forecast. We'll be back in a moment. You are watching Good Morning Memphis.
Well, a raid carried out by U.S. Special Forces in Libya over the weekend has led to the capture of a key al-Qaeda figure. The suspect now in U.S. custody in connection with the 1998 bombings of 2 U.S. embassies. Marianne Rafferty has more.
With respect to Abu Anas al-Libi, he is a key al-Qaeda figure.
Wanted by authorities for more than a decade, U.S. forces have taken an al-Qaeda leader on the FBI's most wanted list into custody.
His capture now means it's much harder for al-Qaeda to establish a really senior leadership presence in Libya, and that's critical for the United States.
Captured in the Libyan capital city of Tripoli on Saturday, his family says he had just pulled up to his house after morning prayers when he was nabbed.
He parked his car in front of the house and there were 4 cars waiting for him.
Al-Libi has been linked to a number of crimes, most notably the 1998 bombings of U.S. embassies in Tanzania and Kenya, leaving more than 250 people dead. Libya's interim government has condemned the United States for what it calls the kidnapping of a Libyan citizen. Secretary of State John Kerry says Al-Libi was taken legally.
And he is a legal and an appropriate target for the U.S. military under the authorization of the use of military force.
Analysts suggest the capture of the al-Qaeda figure is a major blow to the terrorist organization and could potentially provide key information.
He was in Iran with the senior leaders there for 10 years. He's been in Libya for 2 years, reportedly trying to establish an al-Qaeda base there and connections to other groups. And so we'll want to know what he knows, not just historically, but currently in terms of what al-Qaeda is planning.
U.S. officials confirm Al-Libi will be tried in the United States and will not be sent to Guantanamo Bay. In New York, Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
All right. Well, the Nobel Prize for Medicine announced this morning, in fact, 2 Americans, James Rothman and Randy Schekman, as well as a German-born researcher, Thomas Sudoff, awarded the prize for their discoveries of how proteins and other materials are transported within cells. Their research on vesicule traffic helps scientists understand how cells deliver nutrients and other necessary cargo to the right place in the body at the right time. This award is worth $1.2 million. Announcements of other categories expected over the next couple of weeks. I've always wanted to win one of those. Some dream killers in Studio A. A Home Alone moment happening in real life. Still to come, we're going to tell you how a 9-year-old ended up in Sin City all by himself. Were you laughing at my dream to win the Nobel Peace Prize? Wow. How cruel is that? Plus an incident in his restaurant giving B.B. King the blues, but there is a silver lining this morning. Scott Mattis has it for us. A dream killer in Studio A.